Hello everyone, Bard here, and welcome to another installment of Compare and Contrast. From 1920 to 1952, author Hugh Lofting wrote 11 Dr. Dolittle books that explores his many adventures in talking to animals. But Lofting's stories would soon be told in the 1967 musical from 20th Century Fox that, based on what I've searched, is pretty much like the books. But then in 1998, the movie and stories would be remade in a modern retelling of them that, from the looks of it, is not based on the books, and is the only Dolittle film to have a theatrical sequel and 2 direct-to-DVD sequels. And today, I'll be going over these 2 films. Now I should state that I've never read any of the books, but that doesn't stop me from doing this. Also, I'll start off with the movie first, since the main character is the title of the film. So with that said, let's begin with the movie as a whole. Now, of course, both of them are very different. The original is a musical, and is more based on the books, while the remake is not based on the books, is more of a modern take on the stories, and is not a musical. But then at times, the remake does offer references to the original film, like the horse wearing glasses, the 2-headed llama, the circus, and the song Talk to the Animals by Louis Armstrong at the end. But they sort of work in the original because they fit with the context of the film. Where in the remake, it's just a way to say it's canon, but it felt forced and not needed. Also, the plot of both of them are very different. The original has Dolittle wanting to find the great pink sea snail, while the remake has Dolittle trying to treat a sick and dying circus tiger, which is sort of like when Dolittle in the original tries to help a circus seal get back to the North Pole for her mate. But which plot is better? That's kind of tricky. They both are good situations. But then again, the remake tends to forget about it due to Dolittle being in a mental institution. Yet Dolittle in the original almost got the same treatment, but was luckily saved beforehand. So even though the original is pretty long in getting to the goal, it's not as forgotten as in the remake. But the biggie for me in the remake is its moments. Like how when Dolittle and Lucky tried to give the tiger a name, and Dolittle mentions the song Eye of the Tiger, and I was thinking, how does this song relate to giving a name? But then it shows that one of the artists of the song is named Jacob, and okay, that's fine, but it's so out of nowhere that Dolittle starts singing the song, and it went nowhere. But then there's moments like Dolittle making excuses when hearing voices or having animals in the house, or the film's many butt jokes or toilet jokes, or when one of the doctors accidentally hits another doctor on the nose with a door and takes him for medical help, or the running gag of this one woman's health problems with eating crustaceans. All of them seem to go nowhere. And yeah, the original has some silly moments too, but it makes up for it with its song numbers, which are all fine and maybe even a little too many, but once again, the lyrics are not so memorable. So to which one is better? In my opinion, it's the original. Even though it's often silly in its presentation, it's also mildly enjoyable and simple in its storytelling. But the remake just felt rushed at times, have moments that go nowhere, and is not all that funny. Okay, I chuckled or smiled here or there, but for the most part, it's just not enjoyable. So the original gets my vote. The old wins. Now let's go into doing the effects. Both movies offer visual and practical effects, but each one uses them differently. The original is mostly practical and some visual, while the remake's mostly visual and some practical. But the big difference is how each one looks. All the effects in the original look alright, from the llama, to the octopus, to the moth, to the snail, and to the whale. But sadly, the remake doesn't help much. Some of them are fine, but most of it felt dated, in particular with the constant bad keying and rendering of the blue and green screen. And as for the facial and lip movements of the animals, I have a mixed yet strong disagreement with them. Ever since Bad came out, many movies since then with talking animals would often use this gimmick to make everyone believe they are talking. And some of it works, but most of it really doesn't, and it comes off as being uncomfortable and creepy. And it just makes the effects in the original more believable, because most of it is there. So again, the original takes the cake, and the remake is already far behind. The old wins. Next up, we're taking a look at the animals. Yes, both movies use real animals, but the original goes beyond that, using animals that are not real, including a two-headed llama called a push-me-pull-you, a giant lunar moth, and the great pink sea snail, which is an immediate letdown, because only the shell is pink, and the snail itself is a yellowish green. But the real animals are kind of good, like Chi-Chi, a chimpanzee who's like the doctor's servant, and Polynesia, a parrot who lived for hundreds of years, can speak in both animal and human language, and serves as the doctor's teacher or advisor.
Well, that's a cool pet to have.
The remake is very different from the original. Rather than have the animals speak their own language and have Dolittle translate what they are saying, here they have the animals literally talk to Dolittle, and most of them are voiced by an all-star cast of comedians and actors, such as Chris Rock, Albert Brooks, Jenna Elfman, Ellen DeGeneres, John Leguizamo, Julie Kavner, Brian Doyle Murray, Gilbert Gottfried, Jonathan Lipnicki, Paul Rubens, and the late Gary Shandling. And the animals include a dog named Lucky, a tiger named Jacob, and a guinea pig named Rodney. And despite cracking butt jokes and toilet humor once in a while, they are sort of fine.
But which one is better?
Well, as much as I enjoy the animals in the original, I'd have to give the point to the remake, because how else can you top these actors voicing them? Okay, the original's good, but the issues with them are very minor.
The new wins. Next up is the supporting cast.
Both have very different characters for the supporting roles. Let's begin with the female lead, with Emma Fairfox, played by Samantha Eager in the original, and Lisa Dolittle, played by Kristen Wilson in the remake. Emma is a reasonable woman when it comes to treating animals whenever Dolittle's around, but she tends to somehow find what Dolittle does and appreciates it, though at times she'd go back and forth, especially in her song number. And she also wants to stand up and be like a man, wanting to do things women can't do. Lisa is Dolittle's wife, and there's not much to her except for worrying about her husband's sanity. So you can guess which one's better, and it's Emma, despite her sexist nature. What about the child actor? Tommy Stubbins, played by William Dix in the original, and Maya Dolittle, played by Kyla Pratt in the remake. Tommy is not really much, outside of being a young boy who likes to study and help with Dolittle as much as possible. Maya, being Dolittle's young daughter, is quite decent. She wants to be like her father, even though she thinks he doesn't like her and her projects, and she's also wanting to hatch an egg, so she gets my vote. How about the bad guy? General Bellows, played by Peter Bull in the original, and Dr. Mark Weller, played by Oliver Platt in the remake. Bellows is Emma's uncle, and not only that, he likes to go fox hunting for sport, but is also the town judge, which makes it hard for Dolittle to reason with. Weller is one of Dolittle's colleagues, but his only interest in working is, oh, take a guess. A, he wants to be a better doctor, B, he wants to get promotions, or C, he wants money. Oh, the choices they had back then. Well, despite that cliche for all 90s villains, he is okay, but he's no match against Bellows, so he gets it. And then there's a male support. Matthew Mugg, played by Anthony Newley in the original, and Dr. Fish, played by Jeffrey Tambor in the remake. Mugg's an Irishman who's a friend of Dolittle, and he's okay. Fish is a vet who wrote a book on cat anatomy, and he's okay. But I think Mugg gets the point. Not only does he sing good, but he has a slight charm to him, whereas Fish only has about 2 scenes and that's it. And by the way, whoever named him Fish? It's just odd. I also got to mention Richard Attenborough as the circus manager named Blossom in the original. For he is okay, but there is sort of a delightfulness to him.
And as for the other support in the remake, I don't have much to say about them except, and the rest. But they're all quite okay.
So which support is better? Well, while the remake has one decent character and many okay ones, the original is more better, because they help serve a purpose for the main character. So it wins this round.
The old wins. And finally, let's look into Dr. John Dolittle,
played by Rex Harrison in the original and Eddie Murphy in the remake. Rex plays him as a normal doctor turned veterinarian when he realizes that he's more better with animals than humans. And with the help of Polynesia, he learns to speak the animal's language. And he's even fascinated with rare animals. Eddie plays him as a normal doctor who once had a gift for talking to animals since he was a kid. But he gets his gift back after a fender bender with Lucky, and gets weirded out by it, but quickly accepts it.
Perhaps too quickly.
But to which one is better, that's another thing. Both certainly have pros and cons, but the cons weigh out more. For example, Rex can't sing in this movie. He mostly talks sings in it. And once in a while he'll hit a note. And even when something goes wrong or something dangerous happens, he doesn't emote the right feeling. It's either cheerfully charming or blamefully bland. And with Eddie, well, for me, he's more better at supporting roles than leading roles, aside from one exception. But he's just not funny in most leading roles. But aside from that, he's really not much in this film. In fact, he's more of a jerk in this film than Rex is.
Yet, there is one thing I'd like to mention that I don't think anyone else has is, why is he named Dolittle?
Think about that. Why is he called Dolittle? Because he does little doctor work on people. We don't see Rex do any in the original, but Eddie does it like once or twice. And the end implies he'll work on both humans and animals, which really goes against his name.
So it is no surprise that the one that is better is Rex Harrison, and the overall winner is the original.
It may be silly, long, and half hard to catch lyrics, but its characters, effects, and overall feel make it enjoyable, where the remake tries too hard to be fun or funny.
The old wins. And speaking of toilet humor, now show this movie what toilet humor is!
Oh, come on! Flush, darn you, flush!
So that's it for Compare and Contrast. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. And tune in next Wednesday for a new video. I think I should have done something a little better than that.
Directed the remake, which follows the same plot as the original, but not as much. But which one do I like better?
Let's start off with Douglas Quaid.
Hey, can I...
So it is no surprise that the one that is better is Rex Harrison, and the overall winner is the... Ow! Oh, God. Ow! Oh. Oh, God. Oh. 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 So it is no surprise that the one that is